Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, ShedPro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. ShedPro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, ShedPro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
Welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here on Shed Geek Fridays, I am in Metropolis, Illinois. This beautiful, sunny first day above 40 degrees in a while. The snow is finally melting. Thank you for joining, all those out there listening. Today, I'm joined by Shalisha Wood of GrowthOps Ally, my business partner, and someone that I am very lucky to call a friend. Before we get rolling, just a couple quick things so you all know how to stay plugged in with us. Of course, you can call anytime. Shannon's personal cell phone is the Shed Geek call-in, text-in line. That is 618-309-3648. So please feel free to bug Shannon any time of day or night. He loves that. Email info@shedgeek.com. Obviously use our contact forms on www.shedgeek.com. If you have any inquiries with us, anything that we can help with, any connections that we can help you to make, join our Facebook page, go and follow us. Of course, Shed Sales Professionals, always a great resource. So make sure you're following that. And for anyone out there who has Plain community friends, please share with them the 330-997-3055, the Plain community call-in line. That's something that we are very proud of. We want to be able to cater to the Plain community and their preferences, and what is allowed there. So please pass that on, 330-997-3055. So with all those things said, Shalisha Wood, founder, COO of GrowthOps Ally, co-founder of New Leaf Franchise Opportunities. How much of your resume can I run down off the top of my head? An operations person from day one, family business. Tell me something about yourself, Shalisha, that the listeners don't know. I feel like I know everything, but tell everybody else.
I know there's a lot to know. I feel like every role I've had has helped with what I'm doing now with operations. I used to work I was a general manager of a food distribution company. And then I met Joshua, my husband, and he was going to buy a second tax office and he needed a manager. And he was like, well, you can join me. And I told him he couldn't afford me. So
what a husband always likes to hear.
Right. And so then I actually did come and join him. And so then I learned taxes and I ran it, and we ran the offices together. So through that, honestly, there's a difference between managing for someone else and then hiring employees for yourself. So being a business owner, then we sold those offices back to the company. And then I, had an opportunity to work for corporate, and I was a franchise consultant, and I led offices. I had 90 offices, 50 franchisees. It was in a Fortune 500 company, and I was a top performer in the second year, top 25 out of 400. And then I got offered to be a product manager. So then I did that and, led the software and
Right.
did rollouts for 11,000, tax offices. And then I had an opportunity to be a COO, Chief Operations Officer. So then I did that. And then I was like, you know what? Of all the things I've loved, working with the business owners, being a business consultant was my favorite. I loved working with owners. And I was like, so how can I do what I do with operations and do it for owners? So that's why I'm now a fractional COO because I just love that work.
Yeah. And as listeners can probably tell, you obviously are full of energy. You are one of the most just get stuff done type of people. In fact, you really and truly, and I know I've told you this before, you remind me a lot of my mom, who was running hospitals and surgery departments, and now she's runs a cancer research center. She's been doing that my whole life, and I think I've said to you before, she's just a person who gets stuff done. And me and you immediately hit it off as just like, you know what? Let's just buckle down, nose to the grindstone, execute, right? But if we can back up just a little bit, Shalisha, because I know it's the early part of the story, and it's before the operations and all the franchise experience, and all the corporate experience and everything like that. But I know you skip over it sometimes, but I really want you to tell us about the family cheese business, being a Wisconsinite and being in the cheese business. And if you don't mind, just give us a little background, growing up and how you kind of made your initial bones in business. As I think you said, you didn't you start when you were like 16 working?
Yeah, I started. So it's my parents' business. And so it's actually technically not a cheese company, but
I know,
but they sell
but
food
it's
ingredients to
fun to
cheese
say it like
companies.
that.
Yeah. So they sell food ingredients to cheese companies. So like, peppers, pepper jack cheese and spices and custom blends. And so, just through that process, when you're a teenager, you're like, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I was one of those kids. And, I took that aptitude test, in high school. And they're like this, and some kids got real great direction. I got nothing. They're like, you can do anything. And I was like, that's nothing. That gives me no guidance. And so I was like, I'll just do business. And so I was going to business school when I, graduated high school, and I was working for my parents. And honestly, it was a wealth of experience and expertise because every time they needed a help in an area, I went there. So I did purchasing, I did sales, I did accounting, and honestly, it what gave me well-rounded experience in every position. And so one of the things I always struggled with was a manager that could lead the office people and the
Yeah,
warehouse and the general laborers and the processing. And so I was really good at it because you got to talk different to white collar than you do to blue collar. And so while I was over the warehouse and helping them, and the GM was the longest retention they've ever had of blue collar folks because they stayed.
yeah,
I was really focused on, we were very honest and open, and they were open and honest with me. And it worked very, very well. And I was like, I love this work. I love doing both. I mean, that's kind of, how I got started. And I realized, hey, I can actually do this management thing. So,
yeah, absolutely. And growing up with four or five brothers, I mean, another trait that I certainly
yeah,
admire in you is that you do just have the tenacity to say what needs saying, which I know
yeah,
you've told me is a little bit of a product of probably both that sort of upper Midwest, straightforward Wisconsin raising, but also
yeah.
being the girl in the family amongst all the boys.
Yeah, so I have two sisters and I have four brothers. And so, I'm the middle kid. And so I got older brothers, I got younger brothers. And so, the boys think that because I'm a girl that they can boss me around and that they can intimidate me. And I made sure they knew they could not intimidate me. They could intimidate my sisters, but they weren't going to intimidate me. Like I always say, intimidation is a feeling I choose not to feel. So, I might be a girl, but I still can reckon with you. So
That's right. That's right. Well, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand, and just really, obviously, we've grown to be friends and colleagues and everything else. But certainly admire that quality in you. And that is what leads to getting business done, right?
Yeah.
Are you a dealer who sells multiple products at your shed lot? Are you tired of sifting through clunky or overcomplicated softwares to simply sell a product? If so, it's time to call Cal. Consumer Aligned Logistics is the affordable, simplified, and scalable solution for your shed, carport, or even RTO company. We are partnered with Idea Room and Shed Pro for configurators and have multiple RTO partners to choose from JMag to Heartland to Shed Geek Rentals and Scott's RTO. And if your partner isn't listed here, just ask. We are happy to add more. Give us a call at 425-359-3279 or visit calcanhelp.com. That's CALCANHELP.com.
If you're a shed dealer or manufacturer, you already know how to sell the practical solutions your customers are seeking. Storage, utility, livestock shelters offer the fix for those day-to-day pain points. But what if part of your lot could do something more? Playmore Swing Sets and Striker Hunting Blinds are proud to be the exclusive providers of outdoor play equipment and hunting structures for the Shed Geek podcast. Because both brands help dealers do something rare in this industry, increase margins while selling fun. Playmore Swing Sets are tall, colorful, and impossible to miss. They turn your lot into instant eye candy and give families a reason to point, stop, and walk your lot. Striker Hunting Blinds bring the same effect, bold, premier structures that attract serious outdoorsmen and carry strong margins with minimal footprint. Together, these structures give shed dealers a powerful advantage, diversification in your product mix, an expanded customer base, and the ability to sell products on the joy they bring, not just function. If you're interested in learning more, just click the link in this episode's newsletter or dial 330-674-3900 and let us know that you heard us on Shed Geek. Playmore Swing Sets and Striker Hunting Blinds, we sell fun, and you can too.
In business, there are so many things that go unsaid because of what the sort of structures are and what the expectations of employees and employers and kind of what those unwritten rules are. And, I know in the shed industry specifically, there's been a big push in the last several years to adopt some of the like EOS methods where, you're trying to have those very frank, very straightforward conversations. But truthfully, so much of that does come back to management and team members and building a team that is intentional, which I know all those things EOS stresses as well. But there has to be someone who is really and truly being intentional with that team building from day to day. And that's something that I found. You touched on it just a little in kind of introducing yourself there, but if you don't mind, how do you think about teams and how do you think about from day one and training? Because I just know from watching you, I've watched you build some of the best, most loyal, well-trained, relationships with those, whatever you want to call it, blue collar technician, that sort of, the people who it takes to actually produce, right, the outcomes of the business. And so many times that is not the focus. And I just think you have a really good way of doing it. So if you don't mind to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like I'm the opposite of a micromanager. I guess that's the best way that I can explain it is these folks, if it's an auto mechanic or whatever, they are experienced, they have the education, and they know what they're doing. So I'm definitely not one of those managers that comes in and is like, oh, well, this is how you do it. I shut up when it comes to them doing their work. I honestly, I look at how I can support them. I ask more questions than I do any telling. I ask how I can support them. My focus, honestly, is just to give them the tools and resources they need to get their job done. So whatever that is. And that's basically how I present it to them when I first meet them. Anytime I take on a new team, as I'm not here to change things unless they need to be changed. I'll ask their opinion if they feel like there's a change that needs to occur, but I don't change something just because I'm a new person on the team. I know that's an approach a lot of managers take. I honestly think it's kind of an ignorant one because you are not there long enough. You really don't know the systems and processes. You don't know enough to know what to change. And so, honestly, when they're whatever field they're in, I let them be the expert in that field. And that, I mean, they love that because they're like, hey, I just got respect. And
Right.
so, then when it comes to they need something, they'll call me, they'll reach out to me. I kind of just step back and let them do their thing, and I'll come in when they need support. But unless they need me, I mean, I really feel like you should empower your team. They know what they're doing. If they need training, train them, but then step back and let them do their job.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I mean, it's so basic, right?
It is.
It's such a basic concept. But you and I talk about some of these things frequently because obviously from a growth ops perspective, and just so everyone kind of understands, you've probably heard it before, you've heard me talk about it, but just to be clear, Shalisha and I are co-owners, co-founders of GrowthOps Ally. It is a fractional C-suite and executive services company. So we come in and offer for Shalisha, that's operational support, COO, fractional COO services. For me, that's marketing. We also have CFOs that we partner with, and we've even gotten into some kind of very niche down, type of stuff. We even had a request for, an OSHA, a fractional OSHA person, right, to be a safety, occupational safety and health. But anyway, I guess what I'm getting to here is it's such a common sense approach, but
Yeah.
that so many owners, so many people who have hustled their way to success, which is very much, I mean, we think about it in home services, we think about it in kind of industrial construction, or the different fields that we operate in. But it's just as true in sheds, which is you can start putting sheds together yourself in your backyard, or you can be very curious and entrepreneurial and find a guy down the road who has a shop and is a good carpenter, and start having kind of that subcontracted shed manufacturer and whatever else. But my point is, the guys who succeed, who have that success and who go from zero to, pick a number in the shed industry, it's probably, you can go from 0 to 800, 1.2, 1.5 in a year. Like, that's not at all outside the bounds of anything reasonable. But the people who manage to do that often move so fast and are so focused on the incoming, right? Because when you're in that startup mode, gosh, yeah, I mean, you gotta sell jobs, you gotta build jobs, you gotta collect on jobs, right? Like the money just has to churn really fast in the beginning. And so those people succeed. And one thing that I think you and I talk about frequently, and that I think is just true of general psychology, is that person is not always the best then at doing the things you're talking about: building, creating long-term teams, putting handbooks and time off procedures and insurance and all these, how do you retain employees? Well, what kind of benefits can we offer? Can we afford to offer? Right? How much time is that sort of hustle first person able to put into some of those very detail oriented, types of tasks? And so, maybe just, I don't want to make anyone listening who is a manufacturer, an independent dealer, who kind of has that, blinders on, narrow focus. We're certainly not saying anything negative, right? That's what America is: hustle, hustle, hustle.
Yeah.
But maybe talk a little bit about how you kind of approach bridging that gap between the owner, the founder, the people who are just run, 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 and then finding a way to settle into, let's build long-term teams with long-term value propositions, not just to our customers, but to our employees. Right. And does that then improve the value prop that we're sending to our customers? So anyway, that was long-winded, but I know you're great at sort of wrangling, and getting those things in order.
Yeah, so I mean, you're totally right. Like most owners that have gotten to where they are, they just, I guess, tunnel through. They're just driven. They just power through and they get it done. And so that doesn't work when you're building a team. You can't just power through people. And so that's where I come in and I try to pull the power through a little bit back, and kind of just coach them. And honestly, in a lot of ways, as a COO, I'm a coach as well to the owners when I see things that are like, hey, I know that's probably what you meant, but that's probably not how it was perceived. And a lot of times they're like, what do you mean? And, like I had this with one of my clients and I told him, and he went and asked the person, and they're like, well, she's right. That's how I received it. And he was like, I had no idea. And he was totally shocked. And so, but honestly, they're just so focused on, that bottom line, getting that revenue in that because that's, when they started, they had nothing, they had no revenue. And so sometimes they're still in that mindset. So it's a hard mind shift to change. And so one of the things I try to do is I look at what the owner is actually doing, day to day, week to week, month to month, and I try to take work off of them. And so that can be anything, honestly. Switch if they're doing paper checks, switch them to direct deposit so they're not hand delivering paper checks and payroll checks to people. I mean, it could be anything. I really just try to be very customized to what they're doing to free that time up. And so that they have that time to talk to their employees because the reality is, unless you talk to your employees and you have that relationship, you're not going to build that relationship and build that retention. You really don't know where they're at. Because a lot of times, especially owners, are like, I had no idea that this person was going to quit. I had no idea that they were dissatisfied. Well, you're not having those conversations. My recommendation is to have a one-on-one with your teammates every week. Give them that undivided time, especially as a blue collar owner. When you're going to different job sites, you're doing different things. A lot of times you don't have that time and you're taking phone calls and you're doing this. Even if you gave your team members an hour, your leaders, an hour a week, undivided, where they get your attention, they're going to feel that support. And so there's just little things that you can do that at first you're like, well, I can't change, I can't do this. You can, but you got to do them in bite size to get there. And you can build that retention, but you need to be honestly looking at it and saying, okay, my retention is not the greatest. What are my numbers? Because the numbers tell the truth. Regardless of how you feel, the numbers do not lie.
Yeah. I feel like so often when we talk and kind of sidebar and think about how to whatever the business problem of the day is, right? And we obviously bounce things back and forth off of each other, even for clients that we don't necessarily interact with directly. I'll bounce something off of you for one of mine, and you'll bounce something off of me for one of yours. But I think one of the what you're doing in operations or in that COO role, right? Improving operations is you're always trying to translate what the situation on the ground is, right? Where is the efficiency? Where can we improve? You're always trying to translate where the situation on the ground can actually add up to all the things that get talked about in a conference room, or if you're big enough, a boardroom or whatever else. And of course there's all kinds of systems that kind of attack that, EOS or the Kaizen system, from the Toyota back in the day or whatever it is. But, I think for me, I've come to kind of recognize you as being a sort of embodiment of those type of philosophies. Not to just, whatever, just throw flowers at you. But like, I really think that, just naturally, and I would say that being the middle child of 7, and having to peacemake and then having to help in the family business, inevitably has given you this gift of being able to really translate both sides of that equation. And you're just really, really good at it. So, I've seen it in person, but, I think when it comes to the shed industry and kind of, making this hit home for them, I think one of the biggest struggles, and this isn't unique to sheds, but one of the biggest struggles you face in that, 600, 800 million, 1.2, 1.5 is like, you're struggling to figure out where do I get the most bang for my buck on scalability here, right?
Yeah.
Where do I invest? Where can I really take advantage of an investment? Because, an investment in software, might cost you 1.5 full-time guys, right? Depending on what that software is, and what the onboarding is and what the recurring is. And so I think one of the other things that I think that we have really tried to do well, at least, is the sort of value prop around what that fractional, why fractional is valuable to that sort of growing level of business. Do you mind to just kind of touch on how the business model itself, the pay structure, like how that actually truly benefits these owners and founders and CEOs, in that way?
Yeah, so if you're looking at hiring like, a CMO, like a full-time chief marketing officer or full-time operations person, I mean, you're going to be paying a full-time wage. So if you have health insurance, you're going to be paying a full-time wage all year. And so the benefit with someone like, me and you, when it comes to marketing operations in a fractional capacity, is that you're only going to pay part-time. You're only going to pay like part-time wages. But honestly, you're going to get the benefit of full time because you're still going to get those ideas and that strategy and that coaching. And the difference between like a business coach and us is a business coach will just lead you to the water. They'll say, hey, these are some ideas. But with a fractional person, they're not saying, hey, these are the ideas. They're saying, these are the ideas that I'm going to implement and I'm going to do for you and I'll get it done. And so like, especially when it comes to all the operations stuff that I might suggest or I might do, like, for example, like you had talked about a software. And so when I look at a software, I look like there's so many things in my mind that I run through in my mind when I'm going to give a suggestion to an owner. And so I'm always at the top is this going to increase revenue or is it going to decrease expenses? It has to do one of those two things. And then if it doesn't do one of those two, okay, well, let's look at, does it save the owner time? Because if it saves the owner time and he can then go or she can then go and make more money, well, then it's worth it. And so sometimes it may not be a direct, okay, this will actually increase revenue tomorrow, but it will if we free up the owner's time because then they can go do it. And so those are the things when you're looking at it, it's like high level and I feel like it's full throttle, that you're still getting the benefit of an operations person, even if it's part-time. Now it may take longer to roll out if you only have someone working 5 hours a month or 10 hours a month, depending on, the package that you pick. But the reality is you still get that benefit of having an operations person who has the experience and expertise of a full-time person, but you're paying a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just to kind of give the listeners just a little bit of a taste of what you're talking about, because we're talking in the abstract a lot. And, of course, I've witnessed firsthand just how you are laser focused on execution. But maybe, something that would relate directly, if you're comfortable talking about it. I know that you have like a commercial concrete, which I think is pretty similar, in a lot of ways to the way that the shed industry operates. Obviously it's on site and, GCs and everything else, but like in general, if you just have maybe even an anecdote or just kind of, a day-to-day or an implementation or something that kind of goes directly to your experience in that industrial, manufacturing type of a setting.
Unlock the power of productivity with Cardinal Leasing. Are you looking to elevate your business operations with top-tier equipment? Look no further than Cardinal Leasing. We offer a wide range of reliable and high-quality equipment tailored to meet your unique needs. Flexible leasing options. Whether you need short-term rentals or long-term solutions, our customizable leasing plans are designed to provide maximum flexibility and affordability. Conventional financing available. Cardinal Leasing also offers great conventional finance options for those of you that prefer that over-lease purchase options. Expert support. Our team of experienced professionals is here to guide you every step of the way, ensuring a seamless leasing experience. Boost efficiency. With our top-of-the-line equipment, you can enhance productivity, reduce downtime, and achieve your business goals faster. Why choose Cardinal Leasing? Competitive rates, exceptional customer service, hassle-free process, quick and easy approvals. Don't let outdated equipment hold you back. Partner with Cardinal Leasing today and take your business to the next level. Contact us now. Visit our website at equipment.cardinalleasing.us or call us at 618-803-4086 to get started.
Shed builders, if you're looking to boost efficiency and improve your truss and component production, you need to know about IFAB LLC. We've been building shop-tested, builder-approved equipment since 2011, and we specialize in reliable, durable solutions for real-world shed manufacturing. From truss presses and our adjustable jig to the precision door table, forklift building movers, and three-point building movers, IFAB equipment is designed to help small shops and large production operations run smoother. And if you haven't seen our latest truss saw system, you're missing out on some major upgrades, like an integrated stop system, pneumatically automated slider saw, integrated scrap conveyor, and a standalone elevating conveyor. These innovative options are helping shops cut faster, cleaner, and more consistently than ever. Whether you're expanding production or tightening up your workflow, we're here to help. Visit IFAB LLC to explore our machines or give us a call. Let's talk about improving your shop. IFAB LLC, simple, innovative solutions for the shed industry.
Yeah. So one of the things that we implemented, he had no time off policy. And so he's got 3-4 crews. And so they don't, obviously, he's a concrete company, construction company. So he's going to different job sites. And so when I started, he was like, it's not possible. I can't do one. And I was like, well, you can. And, you know, I'm going to be straight with y'all. Don't tell me I can't do it because I will do it. Okay. I will find a way. You know, through, around, or blow up the mountain, I will find a way, you know? And so, so we actually did a digital one, and he was like, that's not possible. I was like, yeah, it is. And so what we did is we created a process and we explained it to them. And there's QR codes at the shop where they have their Monday morning meetings. And there's also QR codes in every foreman's truck. So they can literally scan it with their phone and submit the digital time off request. And it's worked fine. It's worked great. Because then through, you know, the process, when they submit it, it goes to the admin person. It's all directly, like I set up the workflows, goes to the admin person, they approve it, and then an approval goes back to the employee and they know it's been approved. And so literally all they got to do is scan a QR code. So yeah, they're not all in the same place. Yes, they don't use computers, but it's a digital process because they all have smartphones. So, I mean, that's just an example of, you know, okay, we didn't have one, we need one. Right. And you need to have a process, especially as you grow, because he has like 25 employees. Like as you grow, you really need to start having a process. Yeah. And not be like, hey, I told the owner I'm off that day, and then nobody knew that. And so, you know, you have to have a process where the whole team knows. And so that's one way where I helped. We're like, okay, yes, it you know, it's a challenge. We'll figure it out. You know, and at first he's like, we can't do digital. It's not going to work. I was like, it will work. Just let me do it.
Well, and I think there's this, and this is in a ton of that sort of, you know, technician centric or type of industries. There's a lot of like, my guys won't do that.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? There's a lot of like, oh, well, you know, they're somehow tech illiterate. And it's like, well, they're not, right? Like they are, you know, you go to a job site, you know, and of course we're talking about, you know, the English world primarily in concrete, you know, but you go to a job site and I mean, these guys have they've got earbuds in, they're listening to their podcast, they're cruising, you know, like they're, you know, there's no lack of ability, right? What there is there's lack of clear communication and clear expectation, right? And but also clear benefit to I mean, there is clear benefit to having a digital time off policy. So instead of, I mean, I know the psychology, right, of being like, I'm gonna craft a really good text message to my boss to try and explain why I need this day off, right? And of course, you're going to do that in off hours usually. If you're taking time to text and ask for time off, it's probably in, after 5 o'clock or whatever else, right? So now you're texting a boss in the evening, right? And you're relying on them to not only see it, respond to it, but then somehow register it into some version of a calendar when they're no longer in the office, right? I mean, how much sense does that make? It
Yeah.
doesn't,
Yeah.
and so, and all this stuff is just common sense, but it really is the tact by which you implement it, the communication that goes along with it, and then the tenacity, um, which you personally have, and of course others do as well, but the tenacity to execute to the nth degree and make sure that, because it's so easy when something new is put online, that
Yeah.
if there's a bug in it, right, it's so easy for people to be like, well, it's new, and now I've already experienced a glitch and I'm done. And it's easy for people to adopt that reality, and without having a like clear sounding board for that, clear feedback and saying, oh, okay, great, I'm on it right now. I am calling whatever it is. I'm calling whatever the software provider is, or whatever, right? To make sure that gets worked out. People then go from, it's something new, it's something that doesn't work. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not being heard by the fact that, you know what I mean? Like all these
Yeah.
things compound, and like that's what leads to, my guys won't do it.
Yeah.
It's not that they can't figure out how to operate their cell phones. Trust me, they got that part down.
They do.
My grandmother, 92 years old, she has got it down. So anyway, go ahead.
So I was gonna say is, so being a product manager, and one of the roles I had, I worked with the dev team, but then I had to roll it out to 11,000 tax offices. I mean, I'm so used, honestly, to testing the crap out of something before I roll it out. For a lack of a better term. Like, I test it. And so we also have a bilingual crew. So everything I have to do is in English and in Spanish.
Yep.
And so I'm gonna be honest with you, I use Google Translate because I am, I know I took 4 years in high school of Spanish. So I have, I know some words, but not enough to translate a sentence, a
Yeah.
time off policy. So I tested a lot. And I'll like, when we rolled it out, we had a superintendent. So I sent it to him, who was a Spanish speaker. And I was like, does this make sense? I'm going to test it with you, because then if you make, whoever is going to be in the field, help implement it, if you make them a part of the process of developing, and whatever feedback he gave me, I did. If he was like, hey, do it this way or do it that way, I did it that way. And so that way, when I rolled it out, he was already bought in because he helped develop it. And
Right.
that's the big thing, when I worked as a product manager, I felt like I was a very different product manager. I actually got scolded. This is when I realized I needed to get out. I got scolded by my bosses because I cared too much about the field.
Oh
And I
God.
was like, you are a corporate picture of a corporate company. Like literally, like when I got scolded, I was like, okay, wait a minute here. Did I not meet every company objective? Did I not hit it? No, I hit every target and I surpassed every company target, but I also delivered it efficiently to the field. Like,
Right.
I was like, dude, I should get a flipping promotion. Not scolded. And I was like, I'm in the wrong company. Like, I need to leave. And so I was like, this is never going to align. And so, like, I mean, all that I still take to every owner I go to.
Yeah.
Like, because the owners, they care about the field, they care about their employees. Those are the ones I work the best with, not the micromanagers, the ones who really truly care. And so when I roll something out, I get the people who are going to be on the field, I get their input. I get it so that when whatever feedback they have, and then when we roll it out, they were a part of it. Then they're like, they can talk about it. Well, yeah, I did this. This is the way we should do it. They're a lot more bought in. You don't have that fight of getting them to do the buy-in. You already have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you may not realize it, but everything you were saying right there, the little anecdote about, the crews and the bilingual crews and the Spanish speaking crews, you don't even know it, but you're speaking directly to the carport industry right there. So for all of our carport listeners, that is an on-site build. Those are not pre-manufactured in the same way that wooden sheds are, and primarily they're on-site built by bilingual or Spanish speaking crews, and it winds up for dealers and for salespeople being a big frustration because they don't have any control, that over that in the first place, right? It's the carport company, but also there is no way to kind of have that interface, right? So that's just one small example. You're talking about time off, but it translates to everything else. It's an approach, right? Yeah. And so, anyway, Shalisha, look, this is, you and I, we know we do this commonly. We could continue to talk, but one of my big focuses for the listeners out there who have hung on for, I think we're at minute, whatever it is here, 32 or 33. I really want to focus on Shed Geek Fridays being slightly more bite-sized, something that you can listen to in your commute, right, to and from work, versus kind of having to maybe use some of the time once you get home. I do this commonly, right? You start a 1-hour podcast on the way home and it's a 30-minute drive. And then you're kind of like, leaving your earbud in while you walk in to the house, or maybe putting it back in, once you get into bed, and maybe not, then fully focused. And so I want it to be slightly more bite-sized. And so I think we will cut it off here for today, Shalisha. But gosh, I feel like, we should maybe touch base, once a quarter or once every 6 months, and just kind of have you come back, because I know that you really keep your finger on the pulse of, what is going on in the kind of blue collar, home service, manufacturing, industrial, all these hands-on industries that we really dig into. And I think just the sort of Shalisha, of the day type of content is going to be very relevant in translating, even if it's not shed specific, right? So much of this stuff just kind of overflows in our general business problems, especially in those blue collar trades. So Shalisha, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. You know how much I appreciate you, I hope, and just wish you nothing but the best, and let's do it again.
I loved it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next Friday on the Shed Geek Podcast.
Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com, or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you, and have a blessed day.